What's going on, Spitfires? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Spitfire Podcast. I'm your host, LeMunyan, the Spitfire Coach, ready to spit some fire, and I'm going to share some truth bombs with you today. So I hope you're ready. Get your notepad. You might want to capture these. Today I'm sharing the 10 things I learned from being in business for 10 years. Some of them might be like, well, duh, I hope you learned that, and I hope that you don't ever repeat that. And some of them might not be so obvious. So if you're just starting a business, if you're thinking about having a business, maybe you've been in business for 10 years or longer, this might provide some inspiration for you as you're kind of navigating those entrepreneurial waters. Okay, these are not ranked in any particular order, but maybe you want to rank them for me. This was my initial brain dump. So here we go. Number one, everyone is going to have an opinion about your business, but usually it's not for you. You may have heard me share the story of when I first started my business and called it Spitfire Coach. I was told by two, can you guess the gender? They were men. There were two men that said, oh, Lauren, Spitfire Coach, that's way too strong of a brand. You're never going to work in corporate. Oh, you should change your name. I think they should have been wearing pearls because I felt like they were clutching them. And you know what? I listened to them. I listened to them because I was like, well, you've been in the industry. Like you would know, like you are more experienced than I am. And so I changed my company name to what I initially founded it as, which was Lauren LeMunyan Coaching, because it's LLC. It's fun, right? But what I did is I watered down my brand so much. I was like bored with it. Like I had this very like blocky letter logo. It could have been cute, but it wasn't me. It wasn't the energy that I wanted. And so I had listened to this advice because I thought it was sound, but it wasn't for me. And so you are going to be flooded with tons of people who have insight on your business that have no business talking about your business. They have no business about your business. We like to say, mind the business that pays you. And so if they are not paying you, if they are not part of your target industry and your target market, you got to kind of look at it as like, well, what is this about? Is this projection? Are you like uncomfortable about something? Like, what is this? And so sometimes you might get some good nuggets, but I would just dig in a little more. And I wish that I had done that when I was getting started, say, tell me more about that. Because the reality is what they were saying wasn't entirely inaccurate. I just needed to lean into it more. I needed to become more confident in what I was doing to really come full out in being a Spitfire Coach. Because now I'm just like, bring it on. Let's spit some fire. Okay. Number two, always charge more than you think you can. Now, why do I say this? Because never in the history of time has someone ever said, Lauren, the price on this invoice, I'm going to add a zero to the left of the decimal point. I'm just going to give you more money. No, that's never going to happen. What will end up happening is if an amount is too high, you have something called negotiations. You start looking at what is within the budget. But if you are already taking yourself out of the equation, if you're already lessening your value, you are taking money out of your pocket, out of your bank account, away from your family, away from the things you want to do. And so the rule of thumb that I always look at is always add 30%, because most times when you own a business, you are not taking into consideration the taxes that you have to pay or the overhead. Like even though I work from home, I don't have a physical rent lease agreement somewhere. I have household expenses. I have software. I have equipment that I buy. I pay taxes. And as you are bringing other people on, even when they're contractors, there is more investment to manage more people. And people always, always, always underestimate how much it actually costs to run a business. So most times I say 2x it, double the cost. And my rule of thumb on this is if it doesn't make you want to throw up a little bit, we're not stretching enough. So if you are still charging people what you charged when you first started your business 5 years ago, whatever, you need to start increasing. And if you're nervous that your clientele can't afford it, you need to create different tiers for that. So if you serve a population that has a very set income, that's great. Maybe you create another tier of service that is for a different market so that you can get compensated for your value. I think it's great and honorable that you want to continue to service people who are set in their income. I think that's marvelous. I actually have a lot of pro bono stuff that I do sometimes. But it's understanding, how do you get paid? And then how do you also take care of this? You can't let kind of the altruism make you broke, because you got to pay your bills too. So make sure that you are charging what your value and your worth is and increasing that over time. Because guess what? The more experience you get in your business, the more that you are rocking and rolling in this, the more that you are actually becoming more efficient. So you're spending less time on it. And if you're billing by the hour, then they're actually getting a great deal. They're getting a great deal anyway, because if they're going through these massive corporations and consulting companies, the value is kind of garbage. I've looked at this stuff, it's not good. Sorry if you're working there, but it's just true. Like, it's not very original. It's kind of very watered down. ChatGPT might be involved. Just saying. Three, this kind of goes along the point of number two. Never, ever, ever offer discounts up front. Don't do it. Now, if you are in retail, totally different, because you are using sales to kind of drive people through the door. If you are in a service provider situation, this is more of if you have a familiar person, or if you're doing kind of a discovery call or trying to bring someone through the door, and you start to shortchange yourself or lower the price before you've gotten into that final close, what you're doing is inadvertently lessening the value. You are bringing the perceived value down, and it's cheapening the relationship. Actually, I had a friend, former client, who's in the photography space, and they made that fatal error of offering a discount to someone who was familiar to them. And the person was horrendous, horrendous. And they also expected that same price the next time they wanted to work with them. So here's what you can do instead. If someone is lovely, if you just enjoyed working with them, if they could be an amazing connector to future business and you want to reward them, offer them a discount or a bonus or some sort of other gift at the end of the engagement. Think of it more as a thank you gift. If someone comes through the door, you have a great time. It's like giving them a, hey, here's a free sundae for your next visit. But if you say, I'm going to give you a free sundae at the beginning of the engagement, at the beginning of someone sitting down, they're now expecting that damn sundae. And they might be awful. They might have made a mess and been rude. You're like, the last thing I want to do is give you an ice cream sundae with a cherry on top. You suck. But then you're stuck because you've already created that expectation. So if you are loading this up at the front end, all you're going to do is just wait. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying just wait to see how it goes. Because if someone is willing to pay you full price, let them. And also, you could give them like a free bonus thing at the end. Like they could get, half off the next time, or they could bring someone else in, or they could pay it forward to someone else. You can get more creative with this. But all we're doing is managing expectations and increasing our value. Number four, I feel like we're just talking about money so much in business, but it's so important because this was like all of the first like 4 or 5 years of my business. The fourth one is your friends and family are not your customers. They are not your clients, and therefore you should not be selling to them or marketing to them. And therefore you shouldn't be listening to them because they're not driving those sales. I remember being so disappointed, like thinking my friends and family were going to come through. And yeah, they did for like my book sales, but like very small amount of business has come in from friends and family. Family, not like at all. Friends, a little bit. But I was doing more contractual stuff for the organizations, handful of people. But I think we get too locked into this first circle of like influence, is friends and family. And really, where you have the most connection are kind of on the second and third level. Because I think that like friends and family have a locked in idea of who we are. And so they've known us as like, the person with the bloody nose, or the person that wore mismatched socks or something, whatever it is. It's like a much more immature version of ourselves. And so when we get to kind of that second and third and even fourth tier in kind of the LinkedIn circle and connections of people that you're meeting in your professional life, they know you in a different light. They know you in a different image. And those connections are much easier to close if you're in this professional business arena, if you're selling products, if you're doing anything else. Your friends and family honestly are looking for discounts. They're like, hey, you gonna hook me up? And it's really annoying because it's like, can you gift me with business? Can you bring people through my door? Because that would be the best thing ever instead of me giving to you. So let's stop thinking of our friends and family as our customers, as our future customers or clients, and start pulling out of, hey, could you connect me with anyone you know? I think that's a very, very realistic ask. And I think I should be doing more of that too. So let's put that in the planner for the rest of this year and moving into next year. Number five, treat your business for what you want it to be 10 years from now. What does that mean? It means that we need to start investing and planning for and structuring our website, our back end, all of these systems to support where we want things to go in 10 years. Now, we might not even know where we want to be in 10 years, but most of the time when we're starting a business, we're kind of like duct taping, shoestringing it, like just crossing our fingers, hoping things don't break. We're kind of faking it till we make it. We're just like copying and pasting and hoping it all works out. But if you start to think about who do I want to be in this business 10 years from now, or who do I want this business to attract in 10 years, we need to set up our systems, our processes, the way we communicate in a way that supports that. Because otherwise, we're going to hit a point where we've outgrown kind of this amateur hour, and then we have to do a whole system overhaul. And I think people wait until like, I have to make X amount of dollars, or I need to be generating this, or I have to have this many clients before I can invest in myself. And the reality is, you will hit a point very early on where you're like, this feels tedious. Like, I shouldn't be working this hard to onboard someone or to follow up. So this means bringing on a virtual assistant, potentially, absolutely bringing on bookkeeping. Like, you should absolutely have a separate banking system because you need to be filing taxes and you need to be managing your expenses and all that stuff. The way you're handling marketing and branding. If you don't have a website set up, you absolutely need that. Having a domain with your email address that's not at Gmail or Yahoo or Hotmail or AOL. Do not have AOL emails, people. It just shows how non-tech savvy you are. So you have to start looking at the things of where am I acting cheap and where do I need to start up leveling and investing. It's not as much as you think you are, as much as you think it is. And if you are fretting over $20 expenses or even like $70 expenses, I think answering the question of, is this a hobby or is this something that I really want to invest in myself with? Is this something that I see becoming my like legacy? And if it's a hobby, then that's fine. But then I think you need to manage your expectations around it. And if it's your business, then you got to throw everything at it to make it work. Otherwise, it's not going to really work. It's not going to survive it. And part of this is if you see yourself selling your business, which a lot of people don't, especially in the coaching industry, you got to look at what's the IP that's going to increase the value of your business and what are the systems that are there and what are the things that make you look more legitimate. So starting today, looking 10 years from now, like what's the difference between my company now and in 10 years? And what are the things that I can start phasing in and phasing out to start up leveling the perception and professionalism and efficiencies and effectiveness and also profitability. That's absolutely what people look at. So think of it 10 years from now or whatever you're most comfortable with. But I think stop looking at it cheaply. Don't be chintzy. Like it's time to up level and invest and like really take care of it in the way that you want it to take care of you. Number 6, offload the things that you hate or aren't good at. I can't tell you how many times I've put myself on the struggle bus trying to convince myself that I was a video editor, that I was a social media manager, that I was all of these things, or a bookkeeper. I had to do it for a nonprofit for like 11 years. And I even had a finance person, but I had to go through it and like look through things and I had to manage websites and do marketing. And it's like, just because I could did not mean that I loved it. I actually really despised it. I'm really good at strategy. I love to bring consensus together. I love big picture, but like minutia detail, it just kind of makes me crazy. So here's what I would suggest. Make a list of the things you absolutely love to do, the things you can do, and then the things you hate to do. They should not be in all three because that would be weird. It's like love, hate, and can't. And then start looking at where can you start farming this out? Now, if you say, Lauren, I can't afford this, I'm telling you, you can. You can get contractors at a very low hourly rate to do simple things, but you've got to be specific in what you need. It can't just be, I need marketing. You need to be clear about what does the cadence look like? What parts do you need to hand off? Is it in the messaging? Is it in the scheduling? Is it in the graphics development? Is it in the overall strategy? You're going to be investing in the front end of this, but ultimately it becomes a well-oiled machine. I would first start with getting a virtual assistant. What are the things that you can kind of offload administratively for a very reasonable hourly rate? Because your hourly rate is much higher than someone else that is doing bookkeeping or data entry or email outreach or anything else, presumably because you're the head of the company, right? So you have to look at what you can move off. If you keep convincing yourself that you don't deserve it, that you can't afford it, you are becoming that mindset. You are dragging yourself down into it versus saying, I am a CEO. I am going to invest in my time. I see myself as an ass kicker. Like, let's rock and roll. So, look at the pieces to move off. Look at the pieces that you absolutely love to do. Don't even say, like, I have to do it because this is mine. What are the things you love to do? Because that energy is going to become infectious and it creates this culture throughout your organization, even when you have contractors, that we all sit in our zone of genius and we do what we love to do. And we also speak up when you're like, this is not in my wheelhouse. I need help. I need someone else to help me with this. We can always help to move off. But if we start to inundate people with more stuff, they burn out and they leave, or they make lots of messes. Number 7, schedule your time away. If you are listening to this, as soon as this is done, I want you to look at your calendar and start to block off time. This can mean vacations. If it means like a couple days, a week, a couple weeks, a month, take it off your calendar. Do not make it accessible for any meetings. You can also do this for the time that you're available. So I was talking to my husband earlier about how I'm scheduling my time because my concern is I am one call from daycare away from my day being blown up. If she's sick, I'm the one that's going to go because he can't even take calls at his office. So I'm also 5 minutes away. So he said, what's the time frame that you're typically going to get a phone call? And I said, well, it's going to be in the afternoon because she's usually good to go. And if she misses that afternoon nap, they usually signal something's up. So he said, well, why don't you just block, like keep your morning open, but block after like 2 o'clock? And I'm like, that's brilliant because then I don't have to worry about having to reschedule or move anything. Now, I do take on engagements then. And if I need to move it, people are very understanding about a sick kid. And if I do need to, emergency call my husband, I can do that. But it's just looking at what's your typical workflow that would support you in doing your best work, in taking the time off or using it. Because rest is just as important as action. And I think that we think more is better. So more working time, more output, more productivity. But I think there's something really amazing that happens when you value your time and model that for your clients and customers and for your team. It's like, oh, this is a whole new way. I need to be around this. This is someone who really respects and values their time. Also, when you don't have a million options open on your calendar, you look much more high in demand. Like your time looks, just perception wise, much more valuable because you don't have 18 appointments open every day. Just some food for thought. All right. Number 8, surround yourself with people who are just as successful or more successful than you. Now, this might hurt some people's feelings, but the reality is that if you aren't surrounding yourself with people who are like in the same game, who aren't like up to the same good stuff, they're going to inadvertently drag you down. I have put myself in many different groups, different female business owners, different small business owners across the board. And I could always point out the ones that had done the work, meaning that they had kind of checked their mindset, that they had been investing in themselves, that they were really like on this trajectory. And the ones who were in the scarcity mindset, the ones that always had something high drama issue with personnel, financial stuff, they came in with it like on their shoulders, wearing it on their sleeves. And then what inadvertently happened is all of the energy in the virtual room or in-person room, if someone wasn't facilitating this correctly, it all went to this person because, you got a bunch of people who just want to fix the problem. They're like, oh, this person needs me. Let me go be high value to them. But that person completely stripped the energy from everyone else who was there for a different reason. And so when you start operating beyond where you are, when you're around people who are on this higher level trajectory and you are in an environment that has very clear like expectations of we're here to share wins, we're here to share resources, it doesn't become this solve my problems, fix my life. It's like, let's raise the caliber and the bar. So I've been very clear and selective of where I spend my time. I went to a luncheon a couple weeks ago and I was just like, oh, this has not been vetted. This is not a vetted space. This is anybody who wants to come is here. And it was very clear. And I was like, oh, like I felt exhausted after it. I was like, oh, hello. And that's not to say that like they're bad people or it was a bad group. It just wasn't for me. Like I could feel the energetic difference that we aren't here to kind of raise the bar. We're here to just kind of like energy dump. And a lot of that's happening right now. So I would say if you want to really grow your business, look for kind of the code of conduct or kind of the expectations or the caliber of the people in the group because you may be the person that's kind of the lowest or you might be less experienced, but it's what you bring to the table. So I would say don't go in there energy dumping. Go in there with curious questions and offer. Be generous with your offering and suggestions, and like positivity. It goes a long way. But if you're feeling really like heavy after you're around a social circle, I would say start looking for other groups that meet that need. And they're challenging to find. Some people call them masterminds, but even some masterminds are just like drama central. So it's going to take a little time. But if you know of other business owners that you respect, ask them where they hang out, like where they go networking, because most of them belong to 3, 4 groups. All right, number 9. Connect your network when appropriate. This is one of my favorite things to do. I'm around a lot of different business owners. I talk to people all the time. I see them out and about in my daily life now that I get to leave my house, or when I go to different conferences. And so not every person is going to be a client, but I like to remember people and think of people when other people need a different solution, when they need different help or when they're looking to partner with other people. So I just recently did it. I met someone and I connected them with 3 of my contacts. And I don't do that with the expectation that, oh, that they're going to send business my way. To me, if I can help someone make a connection that like rising tide brings up all ships, it's all good. It's my karma points. But what it does is it plants the seed for everyone else that's involved of like, oh, I got to think of this person the next time. Not even me, but this kind of like exponential like farming out of seed planting. People naturally do this all the time in the corporate space, but we don't think about it as small business owners. And I think we need to do a better job at promoting one another and like supporting one another, whether it's on podcasts or in referrals or speaking at conferences or just being in the room of like, hey, we should invite this person in. That social small business network is so important because we're all usually by ourselves. So the more that you can connect others, refer out, the better. All right. 10th, we're finally here. This feels like a Debbie Downer, but I don't care because I think this is actually the most important is get it in writing. Contracts and lawyers are your friend. They are there to protect you. And I'm saying this from personal experience is that you have to have a tight contract because unfortunately there are bad actors who present really well and can bite you in the ass and really screw with your business. People can disappoint you. I hate to say it. I'm really good at judging character. Unfortunately, I have been misled. And they can really muck things up. And I thought that my contract was really tight. And then I found out that it was not as tight as it could be. And so I would encourage you on an annual basis to review those contracts and ask yourself, where could this create a problem? Where could this language not cover me? Have another lawyer look at it. Run it through ChatGPT, but obviously get legal advice. But look for the holes that might appear because guess what? Laws change. Laws disappear. New regulation comes in. People are constantly changing the game. So you've got to really protect yourself. Get it in writing. Make sure any person that's connecting with you in your business, whether they're a vendor, a contractor, a client, customer, there is legalese on your website in the business dealings that you're doing. Make sure that there is a signed agreement and a mutual understanding of what it means. And if you get any sniff out that this does not sound like we're on the same page, don't sign it. Don't have them come into your business because there are master manipulators out there. I hate to say this. It is the truth. And you've got to just really trust your gut and back off of it. If it feels too good to be true, just pause, breathe, and question it. Be curious. And ask for other opinions. Like, does this sound weird to you? This is why we need that connection in the community of people we support and the people that we trust and respect. It all kind of fits together. So that was my download of the 10 things that I've learned from 10 years in business. I'm sure there's a lot more, but this was the first thing. I think it took me 10 minutes to do this, and I've clearly talked about it for longer than 10 minutes. If there's other stuff that you think of that you're like, oh, you absolutely need to know this if you have a business, put it in the comments, send it to me. I'd love to do it. Maybe we'll do another video of all of those insights and aspects that you need to be paying attention to. But I hope this was helpful. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Spitfire Podcast. You can go to spitfirecoach.com/episode and catch up on past episodes. Or if you want to be a guest or you have a topic, love to hear it. Lauren at Spitfire Coach. And y'all keep being awesome.